Nice to be in orbit.
We said, oh, 1 billion, 2 billion. How'd you get to 1 billion? We weren't born that way. In 1995, we hand-delivered 100 chips to a company called Scitech, which is founded by Georg Goldberg. And that was where it started. I kept telling the company, I was CEO at the time, and I said, the true test of this company is exponential growth. The only number that exponential growth doesn't help is 0. You can double that every year. What do you have? You still have 0. But if you can get to 1 and double it every year, you've got something. Compound interest, basically. So we focused. It took us 5 years to deliver 100 chips. So this is what exponential growth looks like. It's lumpy, but on average it's there. Moore's law is exponential growth. Lots of things are exponential growth. Nature is exponential growth. That's why there's a little bit of that white stuff on your house plant and you come back tomorrow and it's covered with it. That's exponential growth. So this, to me, is the only true measure of an entrepreneur is exponential growth. We talked about that, but this is the measure. Now, eventually it does saturate. I think we've gone, this was 100 million, we crossed 1 billion. It took us 2 more years, so I could put those dots in out here. It would be around 2013, so it might be interesting to put that. We may still be on the same curve. Almost doubled every year for 17 years. And it's a testament to the employees, it's a testament to their spirit, it's a testament to their entrepreneurial spirit. And on that score, I want everybody to realize you don't have to be a founder to be an entrepreneur. The employee who was number 4 was an entrepreneur. The employee who was number 10 and had a nice big job offer with matching 401k from Qualcomm, turned that down to come here, that person is an entrepreneur, because compared to the giants, we're still an entrepreneurial startup. We may be public, we still have that spirit, and we know we can keep driving a curve that looks something like this. In 1988, I came home one day, decided I wanted to start the company. I went to my wife and I basically told her this. I said, look, I have a tenured government job. I have a guaranteed pension. We have $8,000 in savings. We have 2 kids that just entered college. We just bought a house we can't afford. I have a lab full of incredibly expensive equipment, and my boss works 3 miles from me. He doesn't even know if I come to work. And I want to abandon all of that and go start a company. I fully expected her to say, would you go over all those highlights again? Instead, she said, if that's what you want to do, we'll find a way to make it work. She's my co-founder. Subsequently, I asked the other folks who actually did the work, but if my wife had said no, or 2 years, let the kids, one of the kids out of college, this wouldn't have happened. So that spirit, in many ways, I didn't know it at the time, but I subsequently learned from Bernie von der Schmidt, the risk protects you. That's the goal. That's the angel that actually protects everybody. You can, look at Microsoft, look at Intel. They went through near-death experience again and again and again. They were making great money on memory, and Japan Inc. decided they were going to just bomb the memory market worldwide. Intel went through an existential change, and that was 1980 basically. So that risk protects you is absolutely a spirit to keep up with. I put this up here because this was my boss and my mentor, probably my strongest mentor in my life. Everybody has a mentor. If you don't know who yours is, think about it. You have one. And those people can actually guide you. They can help you. I had another mentor in Bernie von der Schmidt. But Isaac was an incredibly demanding boss, but he believed in what we were doing, and he wanted to see this technology not succeed just for the military, but he believed the military would get nothing out of it if it didn't find a commercial home, because the military doesn't make things anymore. If commercial industry can't do it, they really can't do it themselves because of the costs of the infrastructure to manufacture. We picked RF. Early on, we went to the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, and I asked all the employees that went to that, I want you to walk around this show. This was 1991. I want you to count how many portable telephones are in use, not being carried around in luggers, but actually in use, and how many portable computers are in use. 2 days later, we added it up. It was 30 to 1. So I thought, portable computers are amazing. Portable telephones are going to take over the world. And this is when it was $1 a minute. And these things were being used over computers at the rate of 30 to 1. So we picked the wireless market. We knew our advantage, that Sapphire substrate. We knew CMOS would eventually win. This market would get so big eventually it would need CMOS and CMOS integration. Subsequently, we got a bone from nature in this linearity thing, but the fact is that's what we decided. That's my co-founder, Mark Bergner. That's Georg Goldberg, for those of you who know him, and Tony Morrow, who is the president. And this is Jim Cable when he joined us in 1996. I hired him as chief engineer, and he subsequently became CEO in 1992. I raised $18 million from friends and family, and now ex-friends and ex-family, and dead friends and dead family, and people standing at a bus stop. If you had a wallet, I was asking you for money. Jim Cable raised over $200 million. This guy, the company wouldn't exist without Jim. He is way more just the CEO. He is absolutely in every fiber of this company. We've been to every planet except for Uranus, and the only reason we haven't been to Uranus is because the US hasn't spent a space probe there, I believe, ever. When our chips were launched to Pluto, it was still a planet. So I don't know if we count that one or not, because it only takes like 18 years to get there, and by the time, I don't know, what do you do? Retarget, hey, don't go there, go over here. That thing's not even a planet anymore. So maybe after they take some pictures, they'll decide it really is a planet. This is when we got into these integrated switches that subsequently we shipped 1 million pieces in 2000. That was on that chart. From 100 to 1 million is that exponential growth. Anybody who comes in and says, oh yeah, but 1 million's easy. We do it every 6 hours now. You weren't here. We didn't have factories like this. We didn't have 50 testers. We didn't have quality department. We had about 50, 20 maybe entrepreneurial people who would do everything from sweep the floor to test the chips. Every bit of that exponential growth is hard because you're doing it with what you had last year. So every step is hard, but every step is a measure of your success. We got into handsets in around 2004. I believe that's the first chip we shipped into the GSM market. You can see the bumps on it. We introduced flip chip. We introduced single chip. We introduced integration. We collapsed the size. And the gallium arsenide guys had no choice but to go in and badmouth us. Okay, the wrist protects you. We invented HARP. Our linearity, as I showed you, our transistors should be perfectly linear, and they weren't. They had this trace amount of nonlinearity, and we struggled. We literally couldn't figure out where it was coming from. So we actually launched an activity. We could see that with CDMA and WCDMA and more and more and more demands for linearity, we had to we had to find out why our transistors weren't perfectly linear. So we launched an activity, and we discovered the cause of the mystery nonlinearity. We eliminated it. We patented it. We've been using it ever since. Our competitors are stealing it from us, and they're using it to great success. But the point is, here we are, 2005, over 15 years since starting the company, and this was the second greatest invention other than the basic material. This was the second greatest invention in the history of this company. So 15 years later, we're still innovating. We're still finding a way to solve the market's problems. We didn't have any money. Our VCs were tired. We were in one of those out of money, out of altitude, and out of ideas for a pilot, basically. But we still kept investing in R&D because we still believed we had a really great story to tell here. We headed to Pluto. We didn't call it a planet here. I was going to tell you a story. The first Mars lander landed on Mars. I happened to be on Hawaii with my wife on vacation. And I was ready, she wasn't. Anybody heard that story before? So I turned the TV on, and it turns out the Mars lander was just entering the Martian atmosphere. And on that one, there was a 17-minute blackout period. So we knew the radios were working. Our chips run the radios, they're the phase lock loops. We knew our chips were working fine, but we really wanted to know our chips were going to work on the surface of the planet. So we're waiting for the 17-minute blackout period. There's a picture of the JPL control room. They're all looking like this, and all of a sudden 17 minutes comes, nothing. It's like Apollo 13. Where are they? 17.5 minutes. It turns out it's about 17 minutes. They didn't tell us that. All of a sudden, every engineer at JPL just jumped up in the air and screamed with delight because there was a radio signal, which means it landed safely, and the radios were working, which meant our chips were working. So I look over at my wife, and there's tears running down her eyes. This is 15 years after we start the company. Go down to dinner. We knew the waiter quite well. I apologize. I said, you know, I'm sorry, David, but this is what we just did. That's why we're a half hour late. And so I said, you know, when you're a kid, what are the chances you're actually going to be involved in building something that goes to Mars? And he looks at me without hesitating. He says, what are the chances you even know somebody who did that? And I just thought that was a perfect encapsulation of the rewards for going and doing something different, is that you can be that somebody that somebody else just is happy to know about because of an accomplishment, not that you did, but that your employees did and that your companies did and that your entrepreneurial spirit did. And every one of you has that in you. Every one of you has an idea. You may or may not follow it, but it's there, and at least listen to it. We actually were on the spacecraft that went to this asteroid. I've forgotten the name of it. It's a funny asteroid name. The spacecraft was launched by the Japanese Space Agency, and the spacecraft's name was Hayabusa. Turns out Hayabusa translates in Japanese into Peregrine Falcon. So we always thought, oh, that's pretty cool. It landed on an asteroid, which is almost impossible because there's no gravity. It's like literally 10 to the minus 6 Gs. So, and they wanted to get dust without contaminating, so they had to figure out how to land and essentially land on a planetoid with no gravity without spraying it with the exhaust from the fuel. And it's really amazing. They land on it, they scoop up a little dust, and they brought it back. I think it just landed, brought the dust back from this asteroid. It's very cool. So this is not what runs the company. It isn't what makes us all the money. It's a very good business for us, but it's those fun things, and you have to keep embracing that. And finally, last year in August, we went public. That's Jim Cable. There's Mark Berger and myself. So as an entrepreneur, I have to admit, they say going public is the beginning. It may be the end of the beginning, but it's not the end of the road. But it is certainly the last box you check, because you can say the market has accepted your creation.